Alright, so we got our Ubuntu ISO downloaded. If you haven't dealt with ISOs much, they're actually pretty convenient. There's applications you can download that let you basically use them as a normal disk that you just don't have to burn. And for the virtual machines, you can actually put these virtual disks into the virtual drives for the machines. So if you've never used a VM before, they're really, really convenient. They let you basically make a totally new install for each project if you really wanted to. And you can make backups and snapshots. You can connect your peripherals to the VM. Just makes development a lot easier just because it's very controlled. I've very often found that after I've had a development machine for a while, it just, you install one thing for one project and they start conflicting and it needs updates, and this just basically lets you start with a clean slate if you want to, or basically always start with the same slate if that's what you want instead. So I'm going to be installing this from a disk. So I'm going to, let's see. Desktop. There we are. So, figures out exactly the version of Ubuntu. So this is, if you're using a more obscure version of Linux, it might not automatically detect this, and the tools that it tries to install may not work as well. But for Ubuntu, this is all easy. So what's my name? Name. Pass. I am lazy and keep this short. This virtual machine should not be having any real interaction with any unauthorized system. So if somebody is trying to log into this VM, then I'm already screwed enough that I don't have to worry about them guessing the password. So I'm going to name this Pebble Dev. I'll move it so it's on a bigger drive. These virtual machines basically have a file that acts as their disk. So, if you have a 20 gigabyte virtual machine, then you need a 20 gigabyte disk space to house it. So I'm putting it on my bigger secondary drive. All right, maximum disk space. So for Pebble Dev, this isn't going to be using much. If you were trying to recompile Android or something, this might be insufficient, but I'm just going to leave this as the default. So memory is another thing that's often worth customizing. For this, 1 gigabyte's probably enough, but if you're doing something where you're really starting to run into huge compile times, and actually when I did try to compile Android, I think it actually did run out of memory when I was using 1 gigabyte, so definitely something to think about if you're trying to do some more serious projects. Let's see, looks good though, and yeah, that's it. So now it'll just do the initial Ubuntu install. So this is basically the same thing as if you put the disk in and rebooted your machine, except now you don't have to worry about screwing up your other OS installations. So for the operating systems that are compatible, so for VMware, it has this concept called VMware tools, where there's basically a set of tools that get installed onto the guest operating system. So for things like Ubuntu or the other popular distributions, these tools are pretty sweet and will make it basically that your VM is just another window on your computer. You can resize it at will. You can put your mouse in and out of it. You can share folders between your host and guest operating system. But that's one area that I've sometimes had a little bit of issues with. If you're using an older version of Ubuntu or you're using an older version of VMware, they might just not play nicely, and it can be a real pain to figure out what's going on there, especially if you had an older virtual machine and you wanted to upgrade. Typically, once I get the tools and the VM all working together, I tend to just sort of leave that until I need to start something new. Upgrading them can cause more headaches than it solves. And since I'm not particularly worried about the security, probably much to my detriment, as I'm sure somebody will come and teach me a lesson in hubris and security through obscurity. But let's see, this usually goes pretty fast. So I'm